Mao. Take us home.
Well, I suppose I will finish off this video game quartet. But I shall be talking about board games. One that is not out yet. Just because we've it is Anthem, which we've been getting a lot. The news train has been ramping up as we get closer and closer to release. And I think it was one of the things, like one of the discussions we had last week is where we're going to talk about this, because we ended up with quite a bit to talk about, I guess, but we didn't want to just talk about that. Right. So
I'm glad we waited, because how about the stress testing on their servers?
Get that out of there now.
That was kind of the big issue going into the VIP
they
demo.
They had a VIP demo, and they apparently did the opposite of what Fallout, not Fallout, what was it? No Man's Sky did. Whereas No Man's Sky was like, yeah, it's got multiplayer, and then someone ran the network traffic through and prove that they don't. Well, that same guy ran the network traffic for this and found out that they had too much multiplayer. Somehow they kept resending the same amount of info way too often or something, and they ended up DDoSing themselves.
Holy moly.
But yeah, apparently so. And there was a bug for like 95% loading, which I think both of those are supposed to be fixed for the public one that will have already ended by the time this recording goes up. Yeah. So Anthem is a sci fantasy game developed by BioWare. It is a third-person looter shooter.
Third person, that's the key
word for OBS. Yeah. It has definitely gathered, like, people have definitely compared it to Destiny, just based on, it's sci fantasy, whatever ish, and it is a multiplayer focused game. But it's probably, like, I don't know how similar it is going to be to Destiny in the end. They've really been talking about gameplay as the focus, but as far as story-wise and in-game even content, they've been kind of tight-lipped on. Like, the story, the broad strokes of the story so far we have is, humans are on this planet that long ago the Shapers had, created all this advanced technology and this powerful energy called the Anthem of Creation to do whatever they wanted. And which is like the backdrop of the planet, and then humans are mostly living, or at least the one that it takes place in is in this fort city called Tarsus. And to leave the city, you have to pilot these like Iron Man style suits, javelins, which is the big focus of the gameplay. You sense. Go out as a freelancer, fly around in your suit, blow things up. Yeah, the demo we got some news on gave some more, like, it was the very early game story stuff, I guess, so we got some background information, but yeah, the big focus has been just on gameplay. There's 4 different javelins, which are like your classes, though they don't fall into the typical like trinity of MMO classes. You've got your versatile all-rounder javelin called the Ranger. It doesn't really excel at anything, but it's supposed to be quite versatile. There is the giant thick boy Colossus,
everyone's favorite.
Right.
Don't have to worry about explaining the rest after Colossus.
It is just a giant hunk of metal that can
Hulkbuster.
Yeah, it looks like a Hulkbuster almost. That just has heavy artillery strapped to it. And then they also have the Interceptor, which is a very lightweight, quick, zippy suit that has is the only one that really focuses on melee builds. And then even if you don't do melee, it's a lot of close range abilities and stuff. And then there's the Storm, which is kind of magic-y. Like it and uses a lot of elemental focus. And gameplay wise can like hover for longer than other people and stuff. And I know well yeah, it's Tats and Meta I know are definitely feeling the Colossus.
Oh hell yeah.
I do love myself a giant mech.
Giant
The
mech
bigger the
that can
better.
stand on the opposite side of the map and just nuke them from orbit.
That's right.
I'm either going to be Interceptor or Ranger, one of those two.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I thought you were feeling the Storm originally.
I was, but
Ah,
melee appeals to me too much, and then
I see.
I like the look of the Ranger suit. Actually,
Yeah, the
so-
Ranger's just got a. It's the most Iron Man looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm either feeling the Ranger or Storm the most, although the Colossus is also tempting. I don't really care about
Yeah.
the Interceptor. So, and then the suits themselves, they have 2 weapon slots, which the Colossus is the only one that can handy the heavy weapons, and I think is that the only, and it can't use pistols. That might be the
And
only
submachine guns, I think.
Oh, submachine
Yeah,
guns.
submachine guns. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the only? I think that might be the only weapon restrictions as far as
I
the
believe so.
suits
Yeah.
go. They then also get 2 offensive abilities that can differ. Each slot will have like 5 or so different ones, and then a support ability, which I think at launch only has 2 options for each suit, and then an ultimate ability. So the Ranger gets multi-target missile barrage. It's also the only one that can use their ability or their ultimate while flying around. What was it? The Colossus has a giant heavy cannon, basically. The Interceptor has knives that and just lets it spin around as a tornado of blades.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Storm can drop meteors on people. It gets 3 elemental big
Go
attacks.
Sephiroth on them.
Yeah, one of the demos they were doing on a test build, they hadn't labeled all of the abilities yet. So when the Storm guy's ultimate popped up, it just said, I don't know, throw some meteors down on him or something.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Damn it, Donald! Who let you pilot the javelin?
He's using the black materia.
Yeah, and then also from a less obvious gameplay perspective, I guess there are also 6 gear slots which affect the stats, but can also change up some abilities. Like I saw one that added if you were killed someone, it was for the Ranger mech, and if you killed someone with their Seeker Mine, I think it would cause an electrical explosion after they died, so affecting the enemies around them. So it's really meant to customize your stats and abilities even more so than any of the other equipment, to cause or to let you really focus on getting a variety of builds. Like I know I was reading up on some of the demo playthroughs, and I think I saw like 4 or 5 Colossus builds already, like that just kind of focus in different areas. Which mostly because I saw that Colossus has kind of been the more difficult one to play.
Oh really?
Yeah, because it doesn't have a rechargeable shield, and it just it more than the other 3 needs its class specific gear, because its class specific gear gives them a ton of extra health and stuff to keep them alive.
Huh.
Yeah, which I think it's just kind of like because the Colossus, it is all about having tons of health and staying alive. So if you're not using your class abilities, you're just going to end up dying. Whereas if you're not using like your class abilities on the other ones to do extra damage, the fights are just going to take longer. Like you're just doing less damage. Because the Colossus is the only one that we've seen that has like tank abilities. Like one of their support abilities is literally to draw. So, and if you do that without the proper gear, you'll just die.
That
Ugh.
kind of sucks. I thought
But,
that's a
I
really
mean-
odd choice to make.
Well, I mean, you just have to make sure you're using gear that's meant for Colossus and not any of the general gear. Because even if it's not meant to like focus on health, it'll be like, this gear ups your mortar damage. It also gives you like 3,000 health or something. Like all the Colossus specific gear will just also give you health and stuff meant to survive, even if it's focused on weapons and stuff.
I don't know. I'm okay with that. Like, it feels like it makes sense. Like, somebody who's going to be in, front lines is going to take more effort to keep alive, right? Like, it's going to be a little bit.
Yeah, because they don't have a rechargeable shield like all the other classes, but they have like over double the health. Like the other javelins, I think in the demo you could see would have like 2 or 3 little health bars that comprised up their overall health. The Colossus had like 7.
At high HP, I tell you what.
Yeah, and again, the demo only went to level 19 gear, I think. And some people are wondering if there's going to be like a health regeneration stuff or armor, or like an armor system where you can build up armor over your health. But we just don't know the in-game stuff yet. So also a big part of it, which this was BioWare, so they it definitely seems like this was like an evolution of gameplay from the Mass Effect line. They have what's called primers and detonators on the abilities. Certain abilities like the Colossus Flamethrower or Fire Mortar will the enemies you hit will prime them. So if you or someone else on your team were to hit them with one of their detonator abilities, it would combo off, causing more damage and like more an explosion or something. Those were always popular in Mass Effect. Like they're fun and flashy, and
it's gonna be interesting when you have the parties utilizing primers and whatnot. Because
you can call out like, hey, they're all set to good to go. If you can make both of your primers, and someone else could have detonators and stuff.
Yeah, and it seemed like from the little bit I saw, both the Storm and the Interceptor seemed to be more primer oriented, whereas the Colossus was more detonator. I don't know if that's fully going.
Yeah, I don't know about the Interceptor. I know the Storm definitely is good about priming because, it's good about priming because if it primes and then it detonates its abilities, or I assume if someone else detonates its primary ability, it will spread to surrounding enemies. It will prime like an area effect prime, so you can kind of just chain them off.
Right, and it seemed like the Interceptor had good status effect stuff that also caused priming. So it'd be like poisoned and primed.
Yeah, so they're definitely trying to make each javelin class, whatever, its own thing. Also, they've said that like all the DLC types, all the story stuff or maps or whatever they add will be free.
That's nice.
They will have microtransactions, but anything that they sell for a premium or for any microtransaction type, or it's all cosmetics, and any cosmetics they end up selling for their premium currency can also be earned in game. The only thing, like, and the reason they spelled it out is the only thing you can't earn in game is basically the Legion of Dawn javelin cosmetic that comes with like the deluxe edition. That's the only cosmetic you cannot get playing in game, basically. And they said the only other thing they were thinking of charging for was other javelins down the road. If they whenever they decide to make more, they might end up charging for them. Which, I mean, some people don't like, but like, I don't mind it because
it makes sense.
They're not charging for like, they don't want to split the player base, so that's why they're keeping all the story stuff free. Like, they're not going to have any big DLC stuff like expansions. They're just going to slowly roll it out with free content. And I mean, if they're doing more work after the game has been like fully released, this isn't something they made and then just sold later. I don't mind it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everything about your appearance is separated from your from your, like, you don't equip armor, you don't equip a headpiece to get a bonus, like for an armor bonus. That's all. It's been separated from stats and appearance like that.
Oh,
But
nice.
it's lots of customizing. You can
So if
customize the
something
look.
looks cool, even though its stats are bad, you can still kind of or
Right,
like
there's
the
just no
stats aren't
stats, so
tied
you
to
just get to
them. Yeah,
make what you think is look cool.
that's
Um,
good. I like that.
yeah,
That's very
and
good. Yeah.
so yeah, you can customize the look of like your different armor pieces, and the color and the texture. They have quite a few different textures also that apply. I think I saw someone flying around in just like in a completely chrome storm unit, because the storm likes to hover around. And it was just really shiny.
I can get behind that.
Yeah. And they've also, so the devs have been very active on the subreddit, more so than any other game I think I've ever been following. Like, because I did play Destiny for quite a bit, and they had a community manager who was fairly active, depending on how the community was reacting to certain news at the time.
Was
But
that Siege or
yeah, Deej.
yeah?
But like never just like devs, like the people actually making the game, getting on and just talking with people, answering questions. There are quite a few of them, not just like one, but like I think I can think of at least 3 different accounts that are different devs that are getting on there, including the senior design lead. And they just like all sorts of problems or getting feedback. They asked for an entire thread devoted to like just audio feedback, just like
Wow.
what how do things sound, what could we be doing better.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, and then even though they had all the issues with the demo, they were during that, like while they were trying to get all the problems fixed, they were like working with people, answering stuff on the subreddit and Twitter, which I don't think they really have like forms, their own forms. So like I think Twitter and Reddit are like the place where people have been like congregating. So that's where they really spend their time, it seems, when they're talking with the fans. And they've said no to quite a few things. Like they don't plan on letting you just re-roll your gear. But they've also said not at launch, which we can only assume is maybe, to a lot of other features, like even further level of your elemental effect, customizing your elemental effects or the different lights on your javelins. There's no PvP at launch, which a lot of people have responded to positively, just because it means the balance won't get screwed over for PvE, because I know a lot of games that have both will end up favoring PvP and just not care if the balance ruins the PvE aspects of certain things, like different weapons and whatnot.
I would say, like, to give an example, Destiny, at least in the Destiny 1, if you weren't running with a sniper in PvP, like, you were just useless, and it sucked for people that didn't want to run with a sniper. Like, so it's nice that they're not doing that.
Yeah, so and then originally it was going to be you saw no one in the city, and then when you went out of the city for either free play or missions or whatever, it was capped out at 4 users, or I think per their instance, basically. And based on feedback they got from people, they added a group hub before the game even went gold. They were able to add a group hub in the main city.
Oh no!
So that you just see other people and stuff. And then so that was kind of cool. Like they're definitely listening.
Yeah, it makes it feel more like a world.
Right. Which I saw when watching like gameplay and stuff. The hub is probably where OBS is gonna have the most issue because that's first person.
Oh.
But it's very slow walking around. Like you're not in
Yeah.
a mech flying around and doing stuff. So hopefully you'll be good enough to get to your mech and go.
We'll
You
see.
can do it. You can do it.
Oh, I'm so nauseous. I'm puking all of my javelin.
Yeah, they also said they're working to get all the stats that people want. Like DP, like how much DPS people are actually doing with what guns to what enemies and stuff. Like APIs, I guess. I remember when they first showed off gameplay at E3, people were like, "Oh, I hate those the floaty combat numbers
the
and
numbers.
stuff." Yeah, which they quickly tweeted out like a picture of you can turn them on or off. You can customize their size and their opacity.
Yeah.
So they've just been on top of like any sort of issues. Like they had the most recent what's kerfuffle what is outrage, like fake outrage came out from the demo had a placeholder slot in the or it had a placeholder area for where you will buy where microtransactions will be. And I think like a skin was like $20, and then there was another tab that said craftables or crafting materials, and basically that led off a group of people to just get on Twitter and make clickbait YouTube videos of saying how the game is awful for these things, and then the devs were like, all placeholders, those prices are not real. You cannot buy crafting materials at all, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know. The game definitely took a lot of inspiration from Diablo, where it's how you get your loot and how the stats apply, even the difficulty ranges. There are 3 I think they call them like beginner difficulties, but those 3 are like easy, or standard and hard or whatever are like your 3 beginner difficulties. And then they have the Grandmaster levels, Grandmaster 1, 2, and 3. Which Grandmaster 3 is a 3,100% boost to health and damage for enemy. And they said that they plan to add more over time. Like that number, and it's very similar to what Diablo has some tier system very similar to that.
Yeah.
It's called. Yeah. There's but yeah, we get the demo coming out at time of recording. It's
tomorrow?
February 1st is tomorrow, and that's when the public demo starts.
It goes through the weekend, I believe. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You can see how it is. I'm not quite sure. Like, as they seem to be done. They definitely seem to be doing some stuff that seems the right. They've been doing things right as far as like communication, and the game looks cool, but I'm still very hesitant after other games I've played, especially Destiny. Even if I don't think the game's going to play a lot like Destiny, but it's the same. Like it's still it's a game as a service or whatever, right? Like the new popular thing.
Yep.
And the Division and
I think BioWare has a lot riding on this game. That's probably why they are like trying to make sure to assuage anyone's kind of misgivings on it. Anytime one seems reasonable.
Has BioWare done anything since Andromeda?
No, not since Andromeda. Andromeda's still fairly recent.
Right. So I mean, with the giant kerfuffle that was Andromeda, I feel like they were.
Well, yeah. This one actually is being worked on by the main studio, whereas that one was some other sub-side studio. I can't remember which one's which though. But yeah, so I myself would probably, I still would recommend waiting at least a month or two just to see like how it ends up being supported overtime, and if there's actually any in-game content worth keep you coming back and playing, sort of a thing.
Is there stuff to do at the end game?
Yeah, they've showed off one stronghold in particular, which I think is similar to the raids, and or some similar aspect, at least like it's an in-game activity. But yeah, we just got to see if it's there's enough to keep people going, if the gameplay loop is satisfying enough.
It's gonna have to be a really strong one for me, because I'm kind of in the boat with you, Mao. I mean, the game looks fun, looks cool, great, but I mean, right off the bat, I'm just not a big fan of most Diablo aspects in any shape or form.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a fine game. It does wonderfully well for what it is, but it's kind of like the biggest complaint I had for Neo is like the Diablo loot system.
Yeah, which they have a crafting element to where you can break down loot that you don't want, and then they're actually based on the blueprints you have. You can actually end up crafting in-game gear through the crafting system. So I just assume it'll be, it'll probably the rate of stuff you have to break down to actually making something is probably going to be high, but it gives you something to do with your all the equipment you're not going to be using.
The fact that it's a possibility is much nicer than other games.
Right. Like in Destiny, you just have to destroy it and it's gone.
Yeah. It's that kind of stuff always like kills me. Like, again, there's always other things you can do with it, but never been a big fan of that aspect, really. So it's hesitant to say, because I mean, like, it's really cool that you get to play these like in these things, but they feel more like classes than they sometimes feel like, I don't know, a mechanized suit, so to speak.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's great. That's fine. I mean, this is really an action RPG, more of an RPG action, really. Because it is numbers and whatnot. But so
yeah,
I think in kind of piggybacking off of that, it seems like it's a game that's great if you have a group of people that you play with regularly. Because again,
I think
you fill roles, but I don't think it's in Destiny to a degree was the same way. You can only play for so long on your own, and it really shines when you have people to play with.
Though they did say matchmaking at least will be around for every piece of content, whereas Destiny did not do that.
Yeah, they took to Destiny 2 before you could randomly match up for raids.
Yeah,
that's actually good to hear, because when a game is so based around the idea, like, playing with others and whatnot, you need to make that as accessible as possible.
Yeah,
if you don't, then you're gonna falter. And this kind of game, being an action RPG game, which has like essentially classes, I'm sure they'll probably release more javelins down the road.
Yeah, I'm sure. And other abilities for the existing ones.
Yeah. So it's hard to imagine. So
need them hills.
Yep. I'm sure there'll probably. You joke, but I'm sure there's probably going to be a javelin down the road that will have some sense of healing to it.
Yeah, I think they said that was like one of the biggest reasons I think they didn't want to do like the class Trinity, though, is just because they didn't want to have a dedicated healing thing. Because actually, like, as you kill mobs or even just, I think, like, probably damage thresholds of like bosses and stuff, they will drop health and ammo.
You know what? I would actually say they probably won't call it a healer. They'll probably call it more of a support.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
The idea would be is that it's more of like a team buffer or enemy debuffer than it is.
Yeah,
actually
like maybe they'll have a javelin that gets 2 support equipments and only 1 offensive one.
Yeah, that might be it.
Yeah,
I guess
something like that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunities. There's stuff open.
I don't know. I mean, again, it's probably the only way I'd really play it is probably if, like, all of us or at least some of us were in it, at least semi-regularly.
Yeah, that's probably the way I play.
Yeah, I think I'm on your guys' thing, though. I'm not going to get it at launch. Even if I really enjoyed the demo, it'll probably just be a wait and see, because these games really live and die by the end game content. Yeah. Like what's there.
I mean, I might pick it up at launch, to be honest, but then again, it's partially because I have a really big sweet spot for battle suits and and I am thirsty for that kind of a game.
Yeah, and that's like I remember we were talking about this the first time, and I was like, is it going to be like actual mechs you get to customize? And Mao was like, "Don't get your hopes up."
It's never gonna be that. You're never gonna get Armored Core with this gameplay.
No.
Like, as much as we would love it.
Everybody save that sound clip for E3 when we end up getting that.
Mech Warrior Mercenaries is September, I think, last I saw for this year. So I mean, that's coming up.
I'm hoping Anthem will at least be better than we're kind of.
Yeah, I want it to succeed. I like BioWare.
I do like BioWare. I want this to succeed. I want to be pleasantly surprised. I want this to go above beyond.
Right. I think we all want it to do well. We have our doubts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say doubts as much as reservations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just mean, I guess. I've been burned before. Is all.
Yeah. I've been betrayed.
Mal's got walls around his heart. Ain't nobody getting in.
And we know how optimistic Tets can be. Let's be honest.
So, hopefully, like I said, hopefully it does really well, and we end up finding this game to be really super fun.
Yeah,
because it sounds like the devs are really deep into this.
Yeah.
From what you've said, like how much they've revealed already, what we've seen from the demos that have been out, and now the public being out tomorrow.
Yeah, honestly, if they can keep up this communication, it'll be with actual results and stuff. Like it'll go a long way.
Transparency is awesome.
Yeah, the more company, a lot of people have a respect for that. The more company goes to being transparent and like asking people what they want and whatnot, generally the better the game comes out. I mean, that's how Neo essentially succeeded. First, the demos that they released hinged heavily on player feedback and information, and they sent it in, and they incorporated a lot from what players stated, and it ended up becoming really good.
Even Kingdom Hearts 3, I mean,
yeah,
they got a lot of they invited like streamers and stuff to play it because the 2.8 or whatever a lot of pushback.
Yep. Yeah, and they made a lot of changes based on that feedback to make it less floaty and more dynamic. So.
Yep. So it's definitely a good thing, and I'm glad to see BioWare is doing this. So hopefully this does mean a really good future for Anthem, and hopefully when it does release, it's a really
and then we get Jade Empire 2 finally after 20 years. More than 20 years. No, it's not been 20 years. Sometimes I think we're like further in the future than we actually are. It's close.
Let's see. When did Jade Empire come out? That was
2005.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's definitely there. Resident Evil 2 though was almost 20 years. Yeah. Actually, no, it was more than 20 years. It came out in 2019. More than 20 years for Resident Evil 2. So there you go.
And what's the connecting factor here? Something I posted earlier. The voice actor for the male. 6 degrees of Prince Noctis Lucius Kale.
Great chase.
Yeah, who's getting lots of work. He's moving up.
Work, yeah.
He's the master of masters in Kingdom Hearts as well.
Oh my gosh.
And Noctis Lucius Calum, my boy. So, walk tall, son. Walk tall. That's all I gotta see.
Just remember, Obs, the flame that burns twice as bright dies twice, like burns half as long or something. I don't remember what the whole thing.
Oh, thanks for that nugget of wisdom, Shinsei. All right, let's get out of here. This has been episode 74 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud, and talk about topic day out day on YouTube with the full video releasing on Friday. Check us out on Twitter, Podcast 5R, Facebook, P5R Podcast, Meta and them streaming Resident Evil 2. It sounds like it's been a lot of fun. I need to catch up on some of those VODs because I love watching people get spooped.
Oh yeah, it's full of spoops. Let me just tell you, it's only spoops.
Yep, twitch.tv/PSOFlow. So next week we'll probably be back with some of our thoughts on Anthem demo. I'm sure, because we'll all end up playing it at some point this weekend.
I believe this weekend, were we wanting to try to stream it?
We can possibly do that.
I will absolutely stream it. If I can do some on... I mean, actually, well, speaking as this, I can do it tomorrow. It's just that the weekend is really
I might be free tomorrow night.
Yeah, we may even have 2 streams going. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
2 different perspectives.
All right, guys. Well, until then, look forward. Get all your spoops in. Get your keyblades ready, and your R-wing and your javelin. I'm very clumsily tying it all together.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
Come on.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Get McCain.
Bye.